Boris Johnson will today intensify his fight back against his critics by launching a Brexit blitz on red tape. To accelerate his drive to carve out a different path for the UK following the departure from the EU, the Prime Minister is to sweep away laws and regulations hanging over from Brussels' rule that cost British firms around £1 billion a year. He will today unveil a new Brexit freedoms bill that will scrap the current special status for EU law in the UK and make it easier to remove any regulations still in force. The measure marks today's second anniversary of the UK withdrawal from the EU. It aims to remind Tory MPs that Mr Johnson delivered on his promise to get Brexit done and remains committed to ensuring the UK makes the most of the chance to radically change the country's direction. Mr Johnson said, "Getting Brexit done 2 years ago today was a truly historic moment and the start of an exciting new chapter for our country." "We have made huge strides since then to capitalize on our newfound freedoms and restore the UK's status as a sovereign, independent country that can determine its own future." The plans we have set out today will further unleash the benefits of Brexit and ensure that businesses can spend more of their money investing, innovating and creating jobs. Our new Brexit Freedoms Bill will end the special status of EU law in our legal framework and ensure that we can more easily amend or remove outdated EU law in future. Mr Johnson's promise of legislation to make the most of Brexit is part of a major policy offensive by Number 10 to fight back against Tory rebels pressing for a party leadership contest. His allies are keen to press ahead with radical policy ideas despite the continuing wait for the findings of the Cabinet Office inquiry into alleged parties in Downing Street during the COVID lockdowns. In a further measure, Housing Secretary Michael Gove is to unveil a major white paper policy document setting out the government's plans to level up the country on Wednesday. The blueprint will include proposals for 20 new Boris boroughs, low-income areas including Wolverhampton and Sheffield, to be regenerated with billions of pounds of investment in housing, businesses, leisure facilities, roads and railways. A string of new mayors and other forms of delegated powers across the regions of the UK will also be announced. Mr Johnson's fightback, which gathered momentum last week, already appeared to be paying dividends last night when a poll showed Labour's lead over the Tories has narrowed to just 5 points. The Opinium survey showed Labour's lead down from 10 points in Opinium's poll 2 weeks ago. Labour's support share was at 39%, -2, in the polls while the Tories gained 3 points to reach 34%. Mr Johnson's Brexit Freedoms Bill is drafted to sweep away EU law left on the UK's statute book after the country's exit from the bloc. To avoid a sudden rupture, most EU regulations were left in place by Brexit legislation. But the Prime Minister wants to go faster in leading the country towards a low-regulation, prosperous future with a major cross-government drive to reform, repeal and replace outdated EU law. Downing Street officials say that, under current rules, reforming and repealing outdated EU law would take several years because of the need for primary legislation even for minor technical changes. They say the new legislation will ensure that changes can be made more easily. The bill will also end the special status that EU law still enjoys in the UK's legal framework. Despite our exit from the bloc, EU laws made before the 1st of January 2020 continue to have precedence in the UK's legal system. Mr. Johnson believes that situation is not compatible with the UK's status as a sovereign, independent country. Officials across Whitehall departments are currently reviewing all EU retained laws to determine if they are beneficial to the UK. Attorney General Suella Braverman, who is responsible for steering the Brexit Freedoms Bill through Parliament, said, setting up a mechanism to deal with these legacy EU rules is essential. It underpins our ability to grasp important opportunities provided by Brexit. It means we can move away from outdated EU laws that were the result of unsatisfactory compromises within the EU, some of which the UK voted and lobbied against, but was required to adopt without question. These rules often had limited meaningful parliamentary scrutiny, and no democratic legitimacy in the UK at all. It is vital that we take the steps necessary, in this Parliament, to remove unnecessary rules altogether, and where regulation is needed, ensure that it meets the UK's objectives. This work is key to us taking charge of our regained sovereignty which the British people voted for in 2016 and 2019. A new policy document, The Benefits of Brexit, How the UK is Taking Advantage of Leaving the EU, will set out how the government is using new freedoms in different sectors to transform the UK economy. It will set out how government reforms are creating a new pro-growth, high-standards regulatory framework that gives businesses the confidence to innovate, invest and create jobs. In a survey of post-Brexit changes for different sectors of the economy, the document highlights artificial intelligence and digital data, a faster, more agile way to regulate new digital markets, and AI and a more proportionate and less burdensome data rights regime compared to the EU's data protection rules. Infrastructure and leveling up, modernizing outdated vehicle standards, improving public procurement so that we can more easily exclude poorly performing suppliers, and enhancing our public health system by reforming clinical trials and medical devices legislation. Climate, the environment and agriculture, reforming our environmental regulation, 80% of which came from the EU, to deliver cleaner air, create new habitats, and reduce waste, while changing the rules on gene-edited organisms, to enable more sustainable and efficient farming. Business and industry, establishing a domestic subsidy control regime to allow the government to better support the UK economy, taking an ambitious approach in financial services areas previously regulated by the EU and simplifying unnecessary reporting burdens for small and medium-sized companies. Global Britain, making the most of an unprecedented opportunity to forge new alliances and strengthen our partnerships around the world. Officials say the interests of the British people now lie at the heart of everything the government does around the world. Labour poured scorn on the proposed legislation last night. Shadow Attorney General Emily Thornberry said, "For all this talk from the government about the potential legislative freedom we have outside the EU, they still refuse to make a concrete change the Labour Party has been demanding in this area for months, which is the removal of VAT on people's energy bills." The British public overwhelmingly support Labour's proposed change, and it is time the government started listening.